Okay, well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, the first edition of Yankee T News. Top of the list for our fake news report this evening is one no less than CNN. Since this latest news came out, I decided to do a little research on this, so I'm fresh from the laboratory. Fact is that CNN should be called the good liar. There are three things about CNN that makes them what we can call truth challenged. The first is the recent announcement that in Georgia convicted CNN of producing fake news. Now, technically speaking, it was not considered outright fraud, but the manipulation of the information concerning a hospital in Georgia was enough that the plaintiff, David Carbone, the former CEO of this hospital, had clearly been the victim of a manipulation of statistical data, and CNN just twisted any way they saw fit in order to make their point. Few are the newspapers that actually get brought into the point where they are held accountable for actually having done this. So what CNN has done has to be particularly egregious. While looking at this, doing a little more homework, I found out that we also see that CNN got kicked out of Venezuela. Now that's a neat trick. A socialist newspaper getting kicked out of a socialist country. How do you do that? Well, they did it. It's curious that on the one hand, they're caught basically lying, making fake news. The government's so fed up with them that they kick them out. And then the third thing was that there is a, quote, cringe-worthy moment where our sweet Uncle Bernie Sanders is being interviewed on CNN.
He says he knows nothing about it, hasn't seen any of these reports. Is that a problem?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he was watching CNN fake news. What do you think?
You don't buy it.
It was a joke.
I know it was a joke. I'm saying you don't buy what he said, obviously. I'm sorry, Senator. I'm saying you obviously don't buy what he said. You believe that he has seen these reports. I mean, to your point.
Kevin, I'm not. Are we on?
It looks like we've lost connection with Senator Sanders.
He happens to make the bad joke about how Donald Trump couldn't possibly know the facts because he must be listening to fake news. Then in addition, just to sort of the frosting on the cake, recent encounter that CNN had with a Russian official.
I mean, Mr. Kislyak is a well-known, world-class diplomat who was a deputy minister of foreign affairs in Russia, who was communicated with his American colleagues through decades on different fields. And CNN accused him of being a Russian spy, recruiting.
Well, it was U.S. officials that
Come on,
accused him of that.
stop spreading lie and false news. This is a good advice for CNN.
But I got to give her credit for holding her temper. But you could tell that she was getting angry. So you find here that CNN has to make sure that they are doubling down on this. They're not going to confess that they did something wrong. So CNN has to go on continuing to be the good liar. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the Cool Science Corner. I just want to take a minute to tell you about something that I read that is so amazing. There's a paper that just recently came out from a conference at NASA where a gentleman suggested the possibility of being able to rebuild Mars' atmosphere. And the trick is to make what's essentially a gigantic magnet that will be put between Mars and the Sun. Position is called L1. It's where the gravitational pull of the Sun and the gravitational pull of Mars equals 0. That point in space is called L1. It's kind of like a stationary satellite. This huge magnetic mass would be between Mars and the Sun, and that magnetic mass would shield the planet from the solar wind that has been stripping the atmosphere off of Mars for billions of years. The claim is that by being able to protect the atmosphere will rebuild, the air pressure will go up to about half that of Earth's in a few years. Carbon dioxide will be released that presumably increases the temperature on the planet, and by increasing the temperature, the ice that's been found in the soil on Mars will be released, and it will begin to restore what we now know were oceans on Mars billions of years ago. This is such a cool idea. It is massive. It's a space engineering challenge like nothing we would ever have done before. And part of it is to realize that some of the mass, the magnetic mass, will be collected from surrounding asteroids. So the trick is, how do you bring them into one place here at L1? So stay tuned. There will be more on this one. Thank you very much.